explosive.
Stop! Stop! Charlie, the emergency! Turn it off!
So 1974 was the year moviegoers were treated to such important cinematic works as Chinatown and The Godfather Part 2, but it was also where the disaster movie reached its apex with the huge spectacle and silliness of films such as Earthquake and The Towering Inferno. It also brought us terrorist bomb on a boat thriller Juggernaut, a brilliantly bonkers little curiosity that tries, and mostly fails, to blend a handful of genres, but has a great time doing so. It's got a tone that seesaws between carry-on comedy and tense bomb disposal movie that its all-star cast just about keeps afloat. Let's take a look. So 1974's Juggernaut takes inspiration from a real-life 1972 terror situation where the Queen Elizabeth II was the subject of a telephone bomb threat and a ransom demand of $350,000. British bomb disposal experts were parachuted into the mid-Atlantic to find and disarm 6 bombs apparently on board. Thankfully, the whole thing turned out to be a hoax. And just saying all that out loud, it sounds like the plot of a movie. So it makes sense that it became one. So here, not long after the luxury cruise ship Britannic sets sail, Nicholas Porter, played by Ian Holm, receives a phone call where an Irish accented voice informs him that 7 bombs are aboard one of his ships and, unless his company cough up $500,000, he'll blow up the ship, along with its 1,200 passengers and crew. So we'll get into the nitty gritty in a moment, but what follows is Richard Harris and his bomb squad are actually parachuted into the ocean next to the Britannic to locate the bombs and defuse them, if they can. All the while, Superintendent John McLeod, played by Anthony Hopkins, and his team on dry land attempt to find whoever is behind the threat. Now, after a couple of viewings of Juggernaut, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. For every aspect or scene I enjoy, there's usually immediately counterbalanced by something shoddy or some eye-rolling attempt at humour. Now, one thing the film can't be faulted for is its cast. Richard Harris, obviously, is great as the bomb disposal expert, Lieutenant Commander Anthony Fallon. We've got Omar Sharif playing the ship's captain, Alex Brunel. Julian Glover turns up as Commander Marder. Sir Anthony Hopkins is Superintendent John McLeod. Ian Holm, as we mentioned, is Nicholas Porter, the chief exec of the cruise line company or something. Now, where to start? So this being a disaster movie, we have to have all these little subplots thrown in, and they're mostly completely superfluous. Take Anthony Hopkins as police superintendent. His wife and kids are actually on board the ship, conveniently. But this provides absolutely zero tension or emotion into proceedings. Now, this is mainly due to the fact that it's only mentioned once, and that his wife is played by TV actress Caroline Mortimer, who spends the whole film in a seasick-induced depression whilst her 2 young children run amok across the ship. And Omar Sharif's sadly saddled with a pointless love affair with a lady played by another TV actress, Shirley Knight, whose kind of pathetic neediness must have seemed out of date even in the mid-70s.
Well, I see the problem.
I'm sorry.
I think you're just doing all of this to impress me. I'm impressed.
And so, thank God for Richard Harris's bomb disposal guru, a man with no family or subplot, with the exception of a late revelation. He's a man with a dangerous job, but the skills to do it. He keeps it light-hearted, mostly, throughout, and is by far away the best thing in the film.
The undefeated champion. Knocked out the first round. No contest. Okay, lads. You clean up. We'll go and collect our medals. Fallon's the champion.
He has all the best lines and manages to be left in charge of diffusing a colossal amount of explosives whilst smoking a pipe and being absolutely full of whiskey. Safe to say, by comparison, everyone else seems pretty dull.
Fallon, stop drinking. I'm ordering you.
You don't give the orders. That good and gifted man who planted the bombs gives the orders.
Now, I'm not sure if the filmmakers realise this, and that's why Roy Kinnear's ship's entertainer is shoehorned into it in an unsuccessful attempt to lighten the tone with some comedic moments that not only don't work, but certainly don't belong in a movie where everyone is only hours away from death.
Hello.
I tried the headache today. It came right out my nose.
53.
Now, the tone in general in Juggernaut both frustrates and fascinates me. It's very, very British, and very British in a late 60s, early 70s way. The luxury liner is like a grubby old hotel on the water, and the scene where a fancy dress party still goes ahead in a fashion, despite the news everyone is sat on 7 large bombs, has that sad, tragic feel to it. Everyone still got dressed up just to sit around in sorrow. It's miles away from the glamorous parties of the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno, which does make it more realistic in a funny kind of way. Now, the fact that stormy seas make evacuating the Britannic out of the question, and the fact that each of the bombs on board are rigged with a dozen booby traps, makes for some fairly tense moments, all helped along by Richard Harris's rough and ready charm. And obviously, back on land, the government won't give in to terrorists, so it's up to the police to catch the bomber before time runs out.
Good luck, Brownie. Yeah, thanks. Look, I'm sorry.
Huh?
About the wife and family.
You heard him at Skinner said, stuff it. It's all a bloody lottery anyway. Ta-da.
Now, I do like seeing Anthony Hopkins in some of these early roles. He does a decent job, even if he doesn't seem particularly flustered that his family are in huge danger. Now, Juggernaut was directed by Richard Lester, who is a very British director, if that's a thing. He'd made a few of the Beatles movies, as well as the Three Musketeers, and of course, Superman 2, kind of, and Superman 3. The comedy elements of the film are very much part of his repertoire.
I wish you wouldn't do that.
Everything all right, Mr. Curtin?
Oh, a night to remember.
As is the grimy kitchen sink drama feeling to the whole thing. He does, however, keep the bomb disposal scenes tense, which is harder than you think, especially when they essentially boil down to just which colour wire you need to cut. That's where having Richard Harris is the trump card, because you not only need someone to talk the audience through what he's doing, but keep it accessible and easy to understand.
Slipping in between the contacts. Downhill this bit, Charlie. Captain, didn't you give my message to your driver?
The other notable action scene features a disposal team trying to board the ship in terrible conditions. I'm not sure who thought it was a good idea to parachute them into a stormy ocean. Now, I'm very far from being an expert on naval counter-terrorism manoeuvres, but I'd have thought you'd lower them onto the deck via a helicopter. So the whole thing's really a cross between a classic disaster movie and an unpretentious British thriller. There's more of an emphasis here on character, or at least an attempt. Although I did end up rooting for some of them to actually blow up, in all honesty. So it doesn't really bring out any sympathies. Now, I haven't gone into character much here because there's not that much of it on shore. But what is on shore is the ship itself, and we do get some well-shot, watery action as the Britannic is battered by the inclement weather. Now, the boat here is a German liner named the Hamburg that was decked out in the livery of whatever shipping line is used in this movie. So I read another review of the film in which it was referred to as an unglamorous gem, and I think that sums it up far better than I've probably been able to manage here. It's certainly worth a watch if you get to see it, even though it might not eventually end up on your favourite disaster movies list. Go check it out.
Did I ever tell you that you're a good man, Charlie Braddock?
Not when you're sober, sir, no.
Or may you inherit beer.
6 feet of it, I think.